No Nick Chubbs, no James Conner, no Christian McCaffrey, and even worse, no Peyton Barber? This is a rough week for running backs, but I'm glad Stardom and Sid'em is here to tell me who to start. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's see who are good and who are bad starts on the week for fantasy football. But before that, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know so, go ahead and leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. I really appreciate it. And become a bro and subscribe. Let's get this channel lifted. Yeah. But I got a 7-round mock draft coming out later this week. Be sure to check that out, especially if you really like the draft. I love it. I love it so much that I have given away all my days off just to make this video for y'all. Y'all better go watch it. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's look at the Thursday night game. Kansas City versus Denver. Let's start with Denver because the better options, let's not lie, they're there. They face they're ranked 28th. The Chiefs are 28th against opposing running backs. No Chris Jones, no problem. There's not that big of a difference between Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman as far as carries. It's a 15. Last week was a 15 to 11 split. So it's not that bad. Phillip Lindsay also, I'm so choked up. Ugh, excuse me. But he's obviously the big playmaking back, but both honestly are good options. Shady McCoy might be the only reliable guy for the Chiefs, but even that, I don't really like him. I don't like neither of the Williams. So no Damian, no Darrell. And Denver, over the last couple of weeks, they've gotten very good against defending the run. I know they're ranked 20th currently against opposing running backs, but they have gotten better and better and better. So I don't like any of the running backs in this matchup. Let's talk about Miami. Let's talk about Buffalo. I don't like Drake. I don't like Walton. I don't like Ballage. I don't like the Dolphins. No, that's not true. I love the Dolphins. I'm a Dolphins fan. But coming from a Dolphins fan, don't start the Dolphins. As far as Buffalo, though, I mean, if Adrian Peterson could run all over the stinking Dolphins, then Frank Gore should be able to do the same. And Singletary, I don't think he's likely to play, even if he does. It's going to be Gore that gets the work. He's going to get the smoke. He wants the smoke. So, Rams versus Falcons. Gurley, he was out of practice Tuesday. I don't know if he will play this weekend. If he does, then obviously start him. If he doesn't, it's hard to start Malcolm Brown because the majority of his carries came on the first drive against the 49ers. Then he saw a little work after that. So it's kind of wonky. I'd feel only really safe starting Gurley, but I know with so many of the bigger running backs out, you might have to play like a Malcolm Brown. Just be wary if Gurley is going to play or not. And I mean, Devontae Freeman, man, he's been getting a majority of the work. He hasn't necessarily been, he's been a lot more productive in recent weeks, and the Rams aren't that great against opposing running backs. So go ahead and start Freeman. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Fournette, man, he is yes. Cincinnati, man, they're 31st against opposing running backs. Fournette will eat this team alive. As far as Mixon, he has a good matchup, but he's been such a seesaw, you know, up, down, up, down. It's kind of hard to trust Joe Mixon, and it kind of sucks. A lot of y'all probably drafted him in the first round. It's a good matchup, so I'd start him. Just don't expect much. Vikings versus the Lions. I just want to start out with this. Sit Kerryon Johnson. I love Kerryon Johnson, but it's a tough matchup. The Vikings are 5th against opposing running backs. And really, he was last couple of weeks, he's been touchdown dependent. So, I mean, he was what, against the Chiefs, he averaged under 4 yards a carry. Last Monday, he had averaged under 4 yards a carry. It's just not a good matchup. I would sit Kerryon if you can. And Cook, man, Detroit, they're 30th against opposing running backs. Looks like Cook will be eaten. But Madison, right? Alexander Madison. His share is too volatile right now. I don't think it's a bad option to have him on your team. Just, he's not a start. He's more of just a snatch grab for maybe later. Oakland versus Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, He is the offense. It's not a bad matchup, and he really hasn't had a bad game all year. Now, as far as the Packers, man, things took a turn. If you're an Aaron Jones owner, a turn for the worst Monday night. He had the drop touchdown, he had the fumble, and then he lost a majority of his carries after that to Jamal Williams. What will this look like? And you know what? The Raiders are pretty good against opposing running backs. They're pretty good against the run in general. I don't like either running back in this matchup, especially Aaron Jones, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Now let's talk about Houston versus Indianapolis. Hyde it's an uphill battle. It's a tough matchup against Indy. They're really good against opposing running backs. And if you really have to, okay, start Carlos Hyde, but I wouldn't do it. I advise against it. As far as Marlon Mack, he's been hot all year. Hot. And Houston, they're so against opposing running backs. Ride Marlon Mack. He loves getting the work. He actually gets a whole lot of carries there in Indianapolis. Arizona versus the Giants. Giants, only if it's Barkley. Barkley might play this week. He'd be the only running back I'm willing to start for the Giants. And David Johnson, man, he should feast on this team. They're 25th against opposing running backs. This defense, they're not bad. The Giants are not a bad defense. They're really banged up. They had some guys that were really producing well. They're just banged up, man. It real sucks. It's really the secondary that's more so the outside. Well, no, even their slot corner is pretty. It's been victimized this year. So, yeah, let's just go with the secondary. Has been what's given points to opposing teams. But I know Edmonds owners, Chase Edmonds, you like what you saw last week. But honestly, you just don't know what his workload's going to look like. You don't know what his carry count is going to look like. And it's really hard to start someone like that. So you can start him. I'd caution against it. He's a good keep, though. He's a good handcuff. And he's a good, just someone to hold on to, sit on your bench. Now let's talk about San Fran versus Washington. And let's be honest. Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida, they're going to get a lot of carries in this game. They're going to get a lot of opportunity. The Redskins aren't that good against opposing running backs. It's a good look. Adrian Peterson probably enjoyed his only plus 50-yard game of the year. San Fran, they're second against opposing running backs. It's not a good matchup. I don't like it. Now we got the Chargers versus the Titans. Let's start with the good. I love Derrick Henry in this matchup. The Chargers, I mean, you saw, the Chargers last week, they knew it was going to be a run-heavy script against them, and they still couldn't stop James Conner. Derrick Henry, man, go for Derrick Henry. Oh, as far as the Chargers, it's a little messy because the Titans, despite their struggles on offense, they're still a really good defense. They're ninth against opposing running backs. It's hard to start Eckler because he's not seeing a lot of the work. It's hard to start Gordon because I don't think he's going to be that effective in this game. So, for me, they're both sits. Saints versus the Bears. And Kamara shouldn't be affected. They face a pretty decent run defense there in Chicago. He shouldn't be affected. He is probably their most consistent means of offense until Breeze comes back. They're pretty one-dimensional. I mean, I know they've kind of opened the playbook a little bit with Teddy Bridgewater, but this is a tough defense for a quarterback to go against. So I like Kamara, at least being able to see a little bit of the volume there. Montgomery, I like him because of the workload. Honestly, I talk about this a lot in fantasy. You want to be able to start guys that have a heavy volume, heavy opportunity. That's what it's gonna be. I know the Saints it's a defense being better and better, but I think Montgomery is going to be very heavily involved in this game. Now let's talk about the Ravens versus the Seahawks, which that's going to be a fun game. But Ingram, he is the most important part of this offense. When they can't get the pass going, they're a run-heavy team. So Lamar Jackson, he's been very inaccurate. So they're going to have to be able to run the ball successfully to win this game. And I think that it's going to just be very good for Mark Ingram. As far as Carson, he'll get the opportunities. Even last week when Penny was good to go, I don't think he even saw the field. And that may have been a precautionary thing. But it's a tough matchup for Carson. but I'm not afraid because I know he'll get the work. Now, Philly versus Dallas. If you have Zeke, you play Zeke. But Howard and Sanders here. They face the 18th worst defense when it comes to allowing points to the opposing running backs. So I like Jordan Howard with the touchdown upside because he's the red zone back. But I like Miles Sanders because he's kind of taken the Darren Sproles role there. He's been used a lot in the past. Hello, my dog. But what up, my dog? I don't know why. Sorry, my dog just came in here and butted in. I guess she's very interested in the Dallas-Philly game. But the thing is, I like Miles Sanders in this matchup. They're using him a lot in the past, and his carry count is still comparable to what Jordan Howard is seeing. Now we got New England versus the Jets. Bell will get the touches. They might not be successful, but he will get the touches. So if you're in a tough bind, go with the guy that you know is going to get volume. Maybe something will happen. As far as White and Sony, I like them both in this matchup. Sony's being able to allow the work in the run game, and White I think will get a lot in the passing game because the secondary there in for the Jets, it's really just the slot and the safety out there. Both their outside corners are such liabilities. So I like James White being able to eat up the middle of that defense. But that's it for the video. Go ahead and do the YouTube stuff. Be on the look for the 7-round mock draft. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.